Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, How to Choose the Technology That Will Help You Create Capacity for Advisory Services. First and foremost, we hope that you and your loved ones are happy, healthy, and staying safe. For today's webinar, Wolters Kluwer, Director of Product Management, Mark McAndrew, Director of Outsource Operations, Ray Barlow, and CEO of KMA Accountants and Advisors, Jason Cadeau, will discuss technologies to adopt that contribute to the success and growth of advisory services. Wolters Kluwer CCH is registered with NASPA as a sponsor of continuing professional education on the National Registry of CPE sponsors. As such, we are excited to offer 1 CPE credit for today's webinar. A total of 4 polls will be conducted throughout the presentation, and you'll need to participate in 3 of them in order to receive your CPE certificate. If you experience any technical difficulties when trying to submit your poll response, please make sure you let us know in the questions pane. This way we can record your answer manually. Your certificate will be sent to the email used to register for the webinar within 5 business days after the session. If you do not receive your certificate, please email taana-webinars@wolterskluwer.com. Please note, CPE is not available when doing the on-demand version of this webinar. You will have the opportunity to submit questions by typing them into the questions pane of the control panel. We'll be answering questions at the end of the session. If we do not get to your question during today's webinar, we will be sure to follow up afterwards. You will also have the opportunity to complete a survey about the webinar, our content, learning objectives, and more at the end of the presentation. This survey will also be sent to you in a follow-up email. We appreciate you taking the time to participate in that survey so we can continue to deliver meaningful content in future presentations. Without any further ado, I'd like to welcome today's speakers, Mark McAndrew, Ray Barlow, and Jason Cadeau.
Hello, everyone. This is Ray Barlow. I'm a Director of Outsource Operations here at Wolters Kluwer. I've been here for about 2.5 years. Before that, I was working for XEM Solutions, and we were acquired. I've been in this industry for about 25 years, and I've been working with accountants for that long. So glad to be here. Looking forward to this day today, and I'd like to turn it to Jason to introduce himself.
Thanks, Ray. My name is Jason Cadeau. I'm the CEO of KMA Accountants and Advisors. We're a Midwest regional CPA firm. I've been doing accounting for 25 years plus, and also I want to say we're a WK Solutions user since inception of our firm almost 12 years ago. On to you, Mark.
Right, thanks, Jason. So I'm really excited to be here with Ray and Jason today. My name is Mark McAndrew, Director of Product Management for the firm Management Products here at Wolters Kluwer. Similar to Ray, I've been with CCH Wolters Kluwer for about 2 years total, but prior to that, as part of the XEM and Expatax business, which was acquired in September of 2020. I have about 10 years experience there, and prior to that, working direct in industry for regional and national CPA firms. Looking forward to our discussion today. We're very lucky to have Jason with us, and Ray always brings wisdom to these sessions. When we think about what we are going to talk about today and our objectives, ultimately we want to walk you away with some trends. So we think about industry trends that are relevant to the discussion. And then from those trends, rethinking the role of technology in your ability to kind of progress forward your business, your career, and your aspirations. We are seeing that there's a shift, and we'd like you to consider a shift to advisory services beyond perhaps some of the more traditional services you might provide today. And then how ultimately to create capacity and provide bandwidth to your staff for the opportunity to pursue these new services, right? So we think about that role technology plays in your people to allow your people to deliver quality services and improve the growth of your business. When you leave today, our hope is you're hearing from both industry and vendor experts and your peer and leadership teams here in the CPA space on like how to progress this forward. But before we get started with today's session, just in case you missed it, we have a speaker series that we're running related to advisory. In our first session of our advisory webinar, we had Lisa Erickson and Ernie Villani discuss how to build an advisory service business model. This is kind of session 2 in the progression of that 3-part series. We know that clients are in need of advisory services, year-round services, and that keys to a successful transition to those services and that business model might be to rethink the role of technology within your firm or rethink how you're packaging those services. So in case you missed it, here's some key takeaways, and we'll continue to work through and talk to these concepts. But that first session by Lisa Erickson and Ernie Villani is available on recording if anyone's interested in learning more. Now, before we kind of kick off the session, we do have the CPE side of the equation. So Alyssa, if you could get us through our first polling question.
Great, thanks, Mark. I'm going to launch the first polling question, which is, what is your primary line of business? Tax, audit, consulting, operations, administrative, or if it's other, please let us know in the questions pane of the control panel. And as a reminder, this is the first polling question of 4. You'll need to participate in 3 of them in order to receive your CPE. We'll give everyone just about 5 more seconds.
As you're responding to this, it's important for us to really get a sense of our audience. While we continue to hold these sessions, knowing the audience that's with us today and their backgrounds is quite important to us. So thank you for participating in polling question 1. Alyssa, should we leave that open a bit longer or shall we move forward?
Nope, I just closed the poll and I'll turn it back over to you, Mark.
Thanks. Now we'll get into some trends in the industry, and Ray, if you could lead us off here, that would be appreciated.
Sure, Mark, can we get to the next slide? All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the industry trends. We talk often about several of these items that are on this list, but one of the most important things that occurred, especially during the pandemic, was the adoption of the cloud. It became almost essential for firms now needing to work in a distributed environment to have the ability to leverage the cloud, to still have the productivity and the visibility and the collaboration they needed to work from home and still get the work done. And we see rapid adoption of these cloud technologies now, many faster than even we thought could possibly happen. We're also seeing automation, and the need for automation has really been moving at a record pace. For example, just 2 years ago in our own tax outsourcing business, we probably saw 100% of the tax return preparation being done by people. So we were just like anyone else, we were leveraging people resources to get the work done. Today, with additional technology, RPA, improved verification, we're able to complete 80% of the return before our staff even touches that return. So that's a critical component for what we're doing and probably what a lot of firms are doing. Speaking of bots and AI and RPA, we see artificial intelligence continuing to improve. We're seeing adoption in many industries and in many areas. AI in the transactional accounting space still requires significant human intervention, but it's only a matter of time, I think, before that changes as well. And let's talk for a second about blockchain. Blockchain's platform can make a lot of things easy, like auditing or even account reconciliation and verification. Blockchain technology can also save time by eliminating the need to authenticate data. And then you can even automate those tasks. According to Statista, which is a market and consumer data provider, companies in the US are expected to spend about $1.1 billion on blockchain technology by the end of this year. So it's something that accountants really need to look at. I don't know, Mark, if you have anything on the rise of data analytics or things like that, but I'll turn it to Jason or Mark for any additional comments.
Yeah, I'll add one quickly, and then we'll go to Jason post that. So when we think about data and data analytics, on these industry trends, we see externally how you focus data towards your customers, but there's also the ability for you to trend your internal business, the success of what you're providing, the way that you can pivot to value-based billing perhaps, and just ultimately how the data that you're obtaining through your systems, we'll talk about some today, and how you use that to really understand the pace of your business and how you're progressing it forward. There's an exciting opportunity to mine that information, to have that information really learn on its own and inform you and change. We're going to show you some creative ways to really focus there as we go. Now, I know We also have some challenges that have faced the industry year over year. And I think, Ray, if we dive there and then Jason kind of dives into his impressions of that, let's move to that.
Sure. Let's talk about the challenges. And we do a survey every year, and asking what some of the challenges are for accounting firms, or we review some of those surveys. But certainly keeping track of legislative changes. I recall back in 2018, a new tax law was put in place, and very late in the year, and it impacted CPA firms as they're trying to get the tax returns out the door in 2019. We saw an increased number of returns coming our way late in the year because firms were putting weren't able to get all the work out the door in time. And that kind of leads to part of some of the other challenges, which is the elongated tax season. We find more and more firms are having to put their clients' returns on extension, which is, we're doubling the number of returns we do during extension season now. So we know that's having an impact and a challenge for firms. And I think all of that kind of circles back to clients we've heard this over the last few years, that clients are just not getting the information to you in time and complete. This adds to the slowdown of the return and also forces many to put those returns on extension. And finally, I'm just going to turn it over to Jason to comment on what we think is the #1 challenge for firms each year for the past 3 years, and that's staffing. So Jason, if you want to take it on from here.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, staffing is probably the biggest issue that I hear from all the firms that I talk to. There is a great shortage. Everybody's looking for that senior, that manager, and they are just not out there right now. On top of that, firms are dealing with the Great Resignation, and unlike norms where staff would stay till after a deadline date, staff are just leaving right now. And that's putting a whole lot of pressure on firms because all of a sudden you have deadlines we just talked about, and you can't get those returns done because you don't have any staff. And the problem we have also is that the staff, there's just no one that's coming in. The number of recruits that are coming in are less and less every year. They're coming into public accounting, and that's putting a great stress on firms. And they have to look at other sources such as technology, outsourcing in order to get the work done. And trying to retain your own talent is critical, but also to manage when you have a firm of your own talent, plus you have outsourced talent, and then you're bringing in new, to blend all of that together into a firm and meet deadlines and client demands is rather hard. On top of that, you throw in all the new technology that's coming every year and trying to integrate the new technology pieces so that you can alleviate some of the staffing crunch is really difficult in this year. And I think it's going to be difficult for many years to come.
Yeah, Jason, I think that's a key piece, which is around, if we have work that needs to move from A to B, B to C, if there's specific outcomes we're looking for, it's critical that we look at our technology component and the pace currently underway with technology and how that accentuates what you're doing as a business, how you're growing your business, how you are taking steps to open up your workforce and overcome the capacity challenges or the resource talent challenges, or getting people into the work that makes sense as they progress their career. And I really think that's where we need to start rethinking the role of technology, right? We start thinking about how technology plays a crucial part. It always has, but there's a difference between I've selected a piece of tax technology to do tax work and the technology available that accentuates your process and the way you collaborate with your people. And I think this is probably not more so evident since what has been a multi-year COVID impact to many of us. But Ray, I think as we think about that role technology plays and how firms are growing, perhaps kind of opine for us on some of that capability and impact.
Yeah, I think technology is the key to growth. I mean, if you go to the next slide, Mark, you'll see, I kind of like this slide. We were talking about digital transformation for years. and it was not necessarily moving along very fast. Firms were talking about it, but it wasn't really necessarily high on the priority list. I was still talking to top 100 firms that would refuse to go to the cloud, refuse to go into a digital environment. Then all of a sudden, here comes the pandemic, and COVID-19 forced the issue, and they were finding it very difficult not to go to the cloud and work with clients. Even more, they were finding it difficult to work with clients that weren't capable of providing things to them in a digital format. We were talking to firms who were telling their clients that if you can't provide your information to us digitally, we can't do the work for you. So getting a box of paper source documents in a distributed work environment just slowed things down even further. So firms started really telling their clients they needed to send them in a digital format. And this is what happened. All of a sudden, technology became paramount. And if you think back in the history of these types of transformations, or let's call them revolutions as well, the way things tend to work, if you look back at the steam engine in the 1700s, or electrical energy in 1870, computers in the late 60s, and really the latest transformation into a digital workplace, they all have the same characteristic. It's like a hockey stick. The adoption is gradual, 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 and then sudden. And this transformation was certainly accelerated by as much as 5 years due to the pandemic. Next slide. So we had we're looking at a prior poll. I think this is from the previous session that we did, and we asked firms to tell us what are the tactics they're using to grow their business. It's a whole different world right now. It's not necessarily that you want more clients, but you may want higher revenue clients, because getting more clients with lacking the resources and the staff to support that can be a challenge. So we asked them these things. I'm going to talk about maybe the top 3 a little bit, then I'll turn it over to Jason and Mark as well. But you can definitely see that if you want to get more revenue per client, one way to do that is to attract more business clients. And within that list of business clients, you'll find more revenue opportunities and a chance to really provide more services or even drive higher revenue for those clients with CAS services, for example, moving clients from a once a year tax return and year-end cleanup to an ongoing engagement, of all different types of work. Taking someone from a $2,500 a year client to a $25,000 a year client, that type of thing. In today's workplace, you have to have the latest technology in your firm. It will help you land those higher revenue clients, business clients, but it'll also help you attract talent to the firm. The group of potential workers hitting the marketplace today basically grew up with smartphones. They are digital natives that are accustomed to having everything they need at their fingertips. If they can't get what they need quickly and efficiently from their phone, tablet, or other device, more than likely they'll feel you don't have the best technology available. So whether it's doing a tax return, e-filing a return, workflow, or just general client information and communication, to attract today's generation, you need the best technology. And I'm just going to let Mark layer a little bit on top of that as well.
Yeah, so when we think about the WK side, right? So when we think about what we're doing to help the industry, our focus is on ensuring that the technology we're providing and the improvements to, evolution of, or creation of new technology, it's with the intent to enable firms to reach their goals, whether those goals are around how to effectively collaborate internally or externally, how to provide opportunity for different tools to integrate and take actions off of one another, be it your workflow process enabling your outsourcing strategy and the way that you layer in your business rules in a way that helps define where your customers flow in that process. Or be it with predictive intelligence and analytics offerings, or the ability to take the data that's consumed in your products to tell you something differently, perhaps the resourcing that you can place at one time to create capacity, or the right talent at the right level so that your model, your operating model is effectively leveraged appropriately. But our goals here from our vantage point, that firms are growing, and each of you will take different tactics to how you grow And we need to be able to support those tactics. Now, Jason, as you think about the way your firm is growing, where are you seeing both from a transformation standpoint from technology side, but also just the nature in which you see firms and your firm growing?
Well, I'll take a step back. One of the things I'm surprised to see is that a lot of firms I talk to are shedding smaller clients in order to create the opportunities to get the business clients or the larger clients. And I think that's the reason why is our lack of staffing. In our firm, we are quite aggressive in the M&A activity. We've acquired a few firms, and one of the things is that you can acquire all the clients you want. The problem you have is, can you service them? And that's the biggest thing. And really, you have to look at not only the staffing you're going to get there, but also what technology you can implement to help make that transition so you can service all those clients. It's great to grow, but you have to grow smartly, and you have to use the resources that you have and work with the resources you have to be able to grow. I get clients all the time calling and say, hey, our accountant let us go. They didn't have capacity. Do you have capacity? I'd say, well, yeah, but that just means now we have to figure out how do we plan for them and how do we get the work done, and don't overcommit to the client. It's great to grow, but you have to grow sensibly, I think. And I think that ever since the pandemic hit, that's always been one of the big things the last few years is got to grow smartly.
Perfect. All right. So interesting, the future of accounting. So for so many years, as early as 2015, things I can remember how I actually did some presentations myself where we talked about how AI and automation was going to replace accountants. There was actually a website that you could put your role into, like a tax preparer, and it would come back with information about your future, something like you're doomed. And we don't hear much about this anymore. Actually, technology will support, not replace accountants. There is no question that digital transformation has changed things for accountants, but those that are ready to embrace these digital tools will see this as an opportunity, not a threat. Jason, I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, I can look at our own firm. I look at this and how technology is impacting every area of our firm, from the auditing side to make it more efficient, to the advisory side where the blockchain, you can be able to do more work without having that human capital involved. And on the tax side too, is there's different things like that. I mean, and that's what I look at is you have to implement technology and leverage it. Otherwise, you're going to fall behind. And again, one of the things that we see from when we acquire firms or looking at firms, the lack of technology usage can really demonstrate how efficient that firm is and how profitable that firm is. So again, I think if you're a firm going forward, you have to be leveraging every piece of technology and investing in that technology going forward, not only to be more efficient, but to manage any issues you have for staffing or anything else that comes up.
And in that, really, I think the key is, it's stated here, to be more relevant, strategic, and creative. But really, the key when we think about, well, how do we stay relevant? How are we more strategic? And how creative do we get? Really, Ray and I have worked for a decade plus helping to create just a world-class outsourcing operation. And in doing that, it was never with the intent of automating the person out of a role, right? So this is where being creative in your strategic direction comes into play here. The purpose isn't to enable your company to downsize or to control costs through headcount. It's to enable that headcount to be more strategic in the services they are going to deliver, that focus on advisory services. If we can free up through technology, be it improving workflow process, enabling better collaboration with the customers and the acquisition of information or documents, and free up resourcing to focus on that advisory side, or for a preparer to become more strategic in the work that they're doing, the goal here is that, our offerings and offerings out in the industry, it's with the intent of helping you grow in the way you need to, which essentially is through your people and the availability of the resourcing you have, the capacity that you can create with that resourcing, and enabling the proper allocation of work to resource or work to automation, but playing both together. So as we start to think about the future of accounting, as you start to think about the future of accounting as it relates to you, let's take our next polling question and really take it to heart. Think about really where you're moving towards and where you are seeing some opportunity to grow. Alyssa?
Great, thank you. I'm going to launch the second polling question, and it is, what steps has your firm taken to move towards advisory services? We've started to think about making the change. We're thinking about introducing advisory services. We're implementing within the next 6 months. We will begin to implement within the next 1 to 2 years, or we have made no changes to our business model. And this is polling question number 2 of 4. You'll need to participate in 3 of the 4 in order to receive your CPE certificate. And we'll give everyone just about 10 more seconds to complete this polling question.
And as we see those results coming in, it's really interesting when you think about what Jason said a moment ago about some companies shedding business when they see it not profitable, as opposed to re-architecting the work you're doing. Think about what you can do with that text prep expertise by adding an advisory component, or the back office accounting opportunity coupled with outsourced CFO services. We're seeing more and more firms over the course of the last several years, and very recently, really taking the plunge with going beyond, right? So really that shift to advisory services.
Mark, one of the things that I thought about as you were talking is, and I've seen this now, is for the future, this is the first time we've seen accountants ask, what type of technology do you have? What type of technology do you think you need to grow your firm? I've been doing this a long time. I've never had people ask me that, and I'm getting that more and more now, which I think is something our industry definitely has to be thinking about.
Yeah, if we're not listening to those that will help us position our firms for the future and what they need from us, not just what we need from them, I think we're doing across the board a disservice. Absolutely, that's some great insight there as far as what you're seeing personally. Now, Ray, what have we been seeing our attendees saying over the course of our conversations throughout these series and beyond?
Yes, so first of all, on that poll, I want to point out that 58% of this group has not yet introduced advisory services, client accounting services into their firm. So I think there may be a reason for that, and maybe some of these reasons that you see on the screen could be part of that. The prior session that we had, we did a poll, and this is what they told us. Basically, for those firms though who have successfully built and are scaling their CAS practice, they're actually seeing twice the growth in revenue over the average CPA firm growth rate. So there is value in doing this. It's not necessarily the highest revenue part of your line of business, but can be the most the highest growth rate in your firm. So, but in many cases, firms are facing significant headwinds to build or grow a CAS practice. There's always going to be a level of resistance to change. And often you will hear that we just don't have the resources or staff to build out this practice. That's probably what I hear most often. I have a quote that I love from someone not so famous that said, but I remember this, I'll never forget it. If you focus on results, you will never change. If you focus on change, you will get the results. Unfortunately, so many firms are not focused on the change, they're focused on the results. And so oftentimes we see, in this case, the same, not having enough staff to get the work done, to get into this work. Oftentimes they talk about moving the tax people over to CAS. Big mistake, don't do that. But in the end, it is a lack of resources that sometimes is your biggest headwind. Another one that's not a surprise to me is pricing. Most firms are billing by the hour. That is not a best practice for CAS. There are books out there, there's presenters, there's people who can work with your firm on building the pricing model that best meets the needs of your firm and is attractive to your clients. Don't let pricing get in the way. The other practice areas can still bill by the hour while CAS moves to more of a value pricing model. So that's an important piece. Another issue is where to start or what to offer. A good starting point really is to develop what we call a menu of services that you can offer clients. You can build it out so it moves along a continuum from maybe least expensive or least revenue driven up to most revenue driven. You can identify them as a level 1 service, maybe very transactional, income tax prep, payroll, or things like that. You can move them up to a level 2, which might be CFO services, cash flow, budget type work. Then you can move on to level 3, which could be strategic planning, tax planning, succession planning. All of these increase in dollars as you get up the line. And then level 4, more consulting, where you're hitting on areas like M&A, governance, and compensation. And as you move through these levels, you have an opportunity for clients to offer, you can offer these services to them, and always give them 3 options as you build out your menu of services. It seems that firms love, or people love a choice 1, 2, or 3, usually low, medium, high. They always choose low, but you can get them next time. So that's part of what you need to build to start this. And for those who are unsure where to go within your client list to start it, I think the best thing to do is look at your industry first. Where's the firm's best experience? Once you determine the industry that you feel the most comfortable in, you can develop that menu of services for those clients. I know a firm that's out there that they only work with dentists, but they're all across the United States. They only have dentists, same types of work, same types of problems probably, and they're very comfortable working with dentists. They even have a user conference each year of all their dentistry clients. You know, there's a saying that that we've coined throughout a lot of these presentations that we've done for CAS is the riches are in the niches. So just think about that. And Jason, I'm going to turn it over to you to add your thoughts.
Yeah, well, I could talk for hours on this one. You know, a CAS practice is so important, and just overall advisory practice, because it feeds so much of your other work. You know, I'll go back to starting it off. If firms don't have something right now, start small. Get 1, 2 people, start doing it, market it to your clients, you know, and just have them start, you know, be like, hey, we can do this for you. You can build this CAS practice over time. It doesn't take, you know, it'll maybe take a couple years. Don't try to do it all at one time. I can tell you that much right now. I'll speak from experience. You know, we have over 10 people right now that just all they do is CAS practice. And it is really important that you understand that when you're trying to do the billings and stuff, it's all value billing. And don't get into the hours aren't as important as understanding what services you're providing them, and make sure that you are getting compensated for those services accordingly. One thing that we like to do, a little tip, is that when we take on a new engagement, for the first 3 months, we will bill hourly and we tell the clients we are doing this to understand what is expected of us and what's expected of them, so that once we get done in 3 months, we can give them a fair quote for what we are doing. And that resonates with clients because they feel that we're actually contributing not only to their benefit, but our benefit as well. So that is really important. And then after that point in time, then you have a really good understanding of, hey, I'm not going to be asked to do something that I'm not going to get paid for. So understand that on the CAS piece, it's really important to identify, hey, what is expected of you and what are you doing and how long you're taking it. And understanding this, once you have a CAS practice, there's so many other things that can involve on it. You can get CFO services. Like Mark said, there's a couple levels up that you can they will just ask you to help you with once they feel comfortable with you. So then the biggest thing, and this is where I think a lot of firms struggle, is that they have those low-level people, and then they don't have those mid or higher level people. In the beginning, your partners can help or your managers can help to smooth that over until you can find some people. But once you do find those people, or the opportunities are going to be there, and it's going to help you not only keep retaining that client, because you're going to have another finger that ties them up besides the compliance your doing or audit work you're doing. But if you provide other advisory services, they're going to look at this and saying you are indispensable for them, because they're going to rely on you to help them run their business. And if you're doing their books, if you're either there or you're doing it remotely or whatever, you're an integral part to that client. And for them to get rid of you at that point is very difficult. So if you don't have a CAS practice, I would tell you right now, you need to start one. You need to look at expanding your advisory services. Don't go overboard and jump in the lake if it's cold, but all of a sudden decide, hey, we've got to move into this. It's a great area. Ray said that it might not be the most attractive billing, multiples, but you know what? It's consistent cash flow, and you make your clients feel that they're, that you want them and they want you. So that's important.
And I think the real punchline here, as it relates to your customers and customers in general, wanting you to overcome these challenges or these roadblocks, preventing you from providing these services, is that as you really think about it, these services are year-round, right? These services are not in a compressed season of time. They encapsulate the entirety of the year, and they're there for you to provide if you spend the time to look for those opportunities to provide them. Jason, when we think about what our audience is saying, I think we have no better opportunity than to think of you as a responder to those surveys. When you see clients needing advisory services year-round, what types of services are you really focusing on, or that you just might want to offer to the audience today?
I'll use our firm as an example. We provide weekly, semi-monthly, monthly, quarterly bookkeeping services. We also provide payroll services for clients. We do strategic budgeting for them. We do CFO services from them. We also get involved in management for some of the clients, working with them and try to help them on their financials, and meeting with them on a quarterly basis to go over their financials to help them move their business. And those are the things, once you start doing that, it really helps bring that client closer to you. I look at it as something as it's year-round, yes, but there's only certain times of the year that you basically got to look at this and say, hey, your services are needed. And these clients don't take up all day, they take up a couple hours. So you can expand and you can build that CAS practice to the point where, like for us right now, we basically limit how much we take, because we can't find enough staff to get all of the clients that want to have us do their work. So we're actually got to limit the amount of work we do based on our staffing. But for us, then we're looking at how do we outsource and do other things? How do we use technology to help eliminate some of those issues? The other thing too is, you can find lower level people, which are more prevalent out there, to do some of the work, and you can kind of use your more experienced people to be client relationship managers. And that's something we do as well. But yes, I mean, it's year-round work. We see a lot of clients now after COVID want our staff to be out in their offices. I know that's one of the things that is, we're seeing that a lot these days. So it definitely is going to help you when you're out there. It's going to help build that client's, feeling of you. You're going to be more important to them than someone who doesn't have that practice. And talking about the benefits to your firm, look at it. You're going to differentiate yourself, from other firms if you can provide those advisory services. Not only the CAS practice, but the other areas. If you can provide, M&A, you can provide CFO services. Those are the things that are going to basically have difference between your firm and someone else, and that client's going to look at you as a trusted advisor. You also get to leverage your expertise. When you leverage your expertise, you're always looking at higher rates, which means more profitability. So you're not relying all on compliance. I always say I'd rather be an advisor than a technician. When I can advise, I can talk to the clients, I can give them the best benefit I have versus going out there and just doing compliance work. And I mentioned before, it strengthens the relationship between you and a client. The more things that you can do for your client besides just being a compliance piece, but that being that advisor to them where they need you for everything and you're helping them do their monthly, their accounting and stuff like that, that reliance is huge, And then also, again, diversifying. Every firm needs to diversify as much as they can. Not only just on the compliance side, but you have to look at all the different areas that are out there that you can get into, i.e., there's payroll out there's employee benefit management. So there's a lot of different areas that firms should be looking into. There's the financial piece. We should be looking into diversify ourselves and not just be the compliance piece. And lastly, it's just build strategies to help your clients achieve their goals. And if they do that, those clients will use you forever. So any of you two have any other comments?
Yeah, I think for both Ray and I, as we think of our role here to complement and provide what firms like yours need, and as we listen to leaders like Jason, or we listen to feedback in the industry in general throughout the course of the year, we take to heart what your goals and aspirations are and how you're leading your firm in the future and how you're growing your ability to provide services and to provide value to your customers. And when we start to listen to some of the themes of what you're saying, we really start to fall into some very specific avenues where vendors like us and partners with CPA firms, we like to partner or think of us as a partner to your success. We need to help you, Jason, and the audience create capacity. Look at those challenges around staffing and ensure that you're able to pursue your strategic direction. Perhaps help you increase your staff bandwidth via outsourcing capabilities, via the way that our technology is interacting with your business processes, or in general, providing you that opportunity to have individuals perhaps throughout the country or even globally engage in your business and help provide those services to your customers. So we think about creating capacity. Really, let's think about it in this vein. What are the capacity challenges? Well, one, retaining a company culture and ensuring that the way that you're growing is true to yourself. So again, Ray and I come from a position where we see staff augmentation through outsourcing as a viable opportunity to create capacity, but in a way that's right for your business, in a way that allows the right work to hit the right resource. Right now, start thinking about, as work comes in the door, who can take it on? What capacity do we have in the period of time to do it? And are we using the talents of our individuals the right way? Are we allowing our individual team members to grow those talents so that they can take on additional focus within the business? And that employee engagement side of capacity and the opportunity both to enable that remote work or hybrid work environment for resources that might be outside of your geographical location, or even those resources that, as the work challenge evolved over the years, finds that a remote or hybrid situation is right for them, and your opportunity to enable that success through those technology opportunities that you have. So we really focus to this capacity challenge as part of what our products offer and our services offer. And we want to make sure that we're offering these services in a way that complements what we're hearing from Jason and from our audience, that the tools we provide or the tools we evolve, the technologies we engage in with our tools, be it on-premise or cloud-based solutions, that we're hitting the right notes for the right leadership so that you're progressing forward. Now, what do we mean by progressing forward? We have a couple of mantras that ultimately we focus a lot of our productivity and firm management products against. And I'd like for all of you in the audience today to think about this as you exit today's session, as you think about technology. Now we'll kind of pivot to specific technology focuses, right? And the different themes you should take to that technology. When we think about visibility, you create visibility to the everyday work that your employees are doing. What I mean by that, if you're a resource such as Jason, or you're a tax service line leader, or an audit service line leader, or you're focused on that dentist industry group and you're a leader in the dentist niche market, you need to understand, what's that work that's being done and where is it, right? So you need that visibility, that GPS concept around what's happening in our firm at any given point in time. You really can't unlock people and the resource potential and create productivity if you don't have visibility into what everyone's doing. Now, we don't mean walk up and down the halls looking at computers or monitoring every second of the work they're doing. The visibility really into the pace of the work, into the allocation of resources as work comes in the door, the ability to achieve deadline targets. If it's tax deadlines, those might be statutory filing deadlines. If you're talking about accounting practices, it might be specific days of the month where you have targets of work to be memorialized or successfully completed. But ultimately, on that visibility side, we really believe that the tools you'll select that unlock that visibility will help ensure that you maintain that workplace culture. You're supporting your employees both in the engagement of work they're doing, but perhaps in understanding where they have a challenge, because the way you're collaborating in your process affords you that opportunity to know where there's a bottleneck or where there's an issue. And if we can alleviate those issues, if we can improve the accuracy of the work getting done by having some rigor in our process, be it through Lean Six Sigma concepts and throughput opportunities, be it through understanding the loops in your process and the ways you can improve reducing those loops and getting that work through the door, ultimately we see that visibility as a core tenet to that success. Now, I'm going to move a little quickly here just to ensure we continue to progress through and get you some of those plans out there as far as what you'll do. But when we think about the next concept here, we have to think about flexibility. Ray noted earlier around deadlines that change. They change often. We have different impacts where an April deadline might all of a sudden be a July deadline, where the extension season might have different periods of time where extensions that were on 9/15 are now 10/15. Does your process have the flexibility to align with changes in priorities? Does it have the opportunity for you to build a process inclusive of your technology selections, where if there's something that is disruptive to you, and think about what has disrupted you today. If there's something disruptive to you, maybe it's the work from home environment of teams that used to sit at the same desk when they were operating in field work within a client space, right? That's a disruption to no longer have the day-to-day communication the way we used to. Are you flexible enough to adapt your processes? Is your technology flexible enough to allow those changes? Think of those changes both today and tomorrow around disruption you might have seen in the past several years through the change in how businesses operate via COVID-related protocols and procedures, the change in a distributed workforce, both the ability to gain access to a global employee bench and capability, or even within your own regional space, how that workforce distribution has changed there. Are you flexible to adapt? Now, when we think about flexibility, are you someone who is shepherding the existing processes you have through the tools you're acquiring or still maintain? Or are you participating as a strategist? Is the workflow solution you've selected, does it have the opportunity to engage into an outsourcing experience? Does it have a way for you to allocate resources effectively to give that visibility into change in process or just where you're at a point in time? And I'd like all of you to think about, what 2 or 3 measures would you implement to improve a business process? If it's a tax prep process where you're looking to accelerate the throughput of those tax returns and reduce risk related to accuracy, are you focusing on technology that might automate some of that process? So you augmenting staff to alleviate some of the review crunch and enabling preparers to become more of a reviewer in that example, which then creates that capacity for you to take on services that Jason and his firm have been pursuing. When we think about accountability, well, as you think about that accountability of resourcing, one, and Jason might opine in a moment, your team members want to do the right thing. A process needs to be in place that ensures that as new members of your organization are onboarded, they understand what those requirements are of your firm and the processes you flow through and follow. Your ability to ensure that they understand the expectations of your business and what specifically they need to accomplish when they are providing engagement work to their customers helps you get them on board quicker, but also ensures that they understand, that employee can be relied upon because they understand what's happening in the business and the type of services you're looking to provide. As you initiate work, someone can easily understand it's now allocated to them. There's a target deadline or requirement. There might be specific sign-off protocols in place. And ultimately, as that work is moved through the process, understanding, are we all participating in a meaningful way? Are we all being fairly allocated? Is our resourcing done in a way that helps provide opportunities for skill improvement over and above same thing, different day, right? So we've seen in a survey, 91% of employees, they feel that accountability is one of the most important things that they need out of their workplace. I think, Jason, you mentioned an onboarding experience related to some new hire interviews, and their accountability view is really interesting. Will you opine on that just a little bit more as we're in this segment?
Sure. Yes. I mean, when we do onboarding, it's so important that they understand our processes and how we do everything in our office. I mean, we drive accountability, but our process and procedures is what we rely on. On top of that, we interject technology in, such as a solution like Workstream, to make sure that everybody is doing the same thing all the time. And when we go into a new firm and we acquire it, it is so important to have everybody on the same page. Otherwise, it's just like throwing sand in the engine. It just doesn't work. And for us, we rely so much on our processes and procedures and our technology to help us, and allows us to have accountability. And in order for a firm to function, you have to have that.
Yeah, I love that you threw Workstream out here, right? When you start thinking about a growth strategy through acquisition, as an example, having processes in place that you control through a system, and then having the ability to bring new employees, not new members of the accounting profession, but new employees to your business related to how you're growing your firm, understand what those processes look like. It's really invaluable in how quickly you can bring cultures together and ensure the continued success of your firm clients and the engagement you provide. So as we want to hold firm to our polling questions, Alyssa, let's go to our next polling question, and then we'll dive into some tools and technology to wrap up.
Great, thank you, Mark. The third polling question is, what advancements in technology has your firm taken? We've already started introducing or thinking about introducing tools and technology. We're implementing technology within the next 6 months. We will begin to implement within the next 1 to 2 years, or we have made no advancements in technology. And we'll give everyone just about 5 more seconds to complete this polling question.
And as that wraps up, I'll go a little rapid fire in the next segment on tools that are really, I think, advantageous to everyone here. But seeing that you're starting to introduce or are introducing, or you're on the precipice of what tools you need to go beyond what you're doing today, this final segment should help us all leave with really an idea of what that should look like. And as I move forward, we'll close this poll out. I can be honest with you and say that we'd like to talk to Jason for hours upon hours and find that as firms such as his continue to grow and select the right tools and technology to allow for additional services to be provided to customers, ultimately, that's just a conversation we can have for hours. But I think what's really important to think about is that technology is transforming the industry to provide the appropriate level advisory services There's a technology component, whether it be the information you need specific to your customer, something like an IQ, for example, that we offer, an Axcess IQ product that provides the right customers and those internal resources with the right info to provide them a deeper level of advice or advisory, or it's the collaboration tools, or it's the workflow and productivity and scheduling tools, or it's that tax technology that enables that across the country, across the globe opportunity to do the tax work or the audit engagement work. Our goal here as we think about CCH and where we come into play, one is we have 2 flagship workflow products, and we believe that workflow is the place that you go to work. So the continued evolution of tools and the integrations around tools we provide. Now, if you're a best in breed company as opposed to a suite offering, we want to make sure your thoughts are around, well, what tools are best in breed? And we have many in our own suite, if not all, that we believe are those flagship offerings. But as an example for workflow, we provide 2 solutions, Axcess Workflow and Axcess Workstream. Well, those tools need to have integration capabilities in your process, from scheduling to outsourcing to time and billing to document access to collaborating on the tax side, whether it be on-premise tax or it be in the cloud access tax. Point being, we're focused to ensure folks like Jason and all of you today can evolve the technology stack you have, can ingrain or ingratiate technologies that you're using into the suite approach that we offer by being API first, by ensuring that we play nice in the sandbox with others, by ensuring our marketplace grows with the needs of our constituents, our customers. But now when we start thinking about the products that you should select, really truthfully think about going from communication to collaboration. That is, if you're communicating through phone or email or instant messenger, Teams, or what have you, is there an opportunity where you can start to engage a collaboration vehicle, whether it's individual tax, business entity tax, your auditing, the ability to collect documents month over month from an accounting side, where that collaboration to your customers collaborates inwardly to your business process, your workflow solutions, right? Your ability to see the documents you have at the time you need them engaged in a workflow solution that can then get the right resources that work immediately and when it's time. Don't waste time in a process. Determine how you can evolve the way you collaborate with that business process and with the audiences that you have related to questions your customers need to answer for you, documents or information you need to gain access to routinely, the ability for your team members, whether they're new team members as a result of a merger, to see prior year tax information and documents easily, so they're not searching for it within the DMS system, but it's just present in the way they collaborate with that business process. We start to think about products like Axcess IQ, where we believe it's an advisory service offering for you to consider as you're going from perhaps tax prep to tax advisory in that example, or the ability really for you to develop that advisory model Jason's talked about in a way that brings meaningful technology into the mix. And again, think about it from the perspective of what we're trying to enable for firms like Jason. You have a collaboration capability, a workflow process, a resource allocation opportunity. And what you're doing now is you're bringing some of that meaningful information into the mix that puts the right information to your resources for the right customers in a way that lets you communicate effectively and gain access to new revenue streams. We really see tools like this to be one that can help unlock that advisory potential. And I am going fairly quickly here, specifically based on just the time to end for our session. When we think about what Ray and I have worked on for decades, we think about what Jason is doing internally with his customer base and providing some outsourced capability for his customers related to his staff that are providing these services, whether it's tax return preparation and an outsourcing strategy you optimize as it relates to business process. Our outsourcing strategy for tax to enable you as a CPA firm to provide advisory services is we ingrain outsourcing as an embedded component of workflow. You ensure that your customers understand your strategy, and we immediately patch that strategy into your business through our workflow and outsourcing integration. On the client accounting services side, this is where perhaps your workflow system should be flexible enough to go beyond tax workflow, audit workflow, accounting workflow and building those accounting processes. So as new employees are taking new roles or responsibilities, they see the steps to take, the specific types of services you provide, what those expectations are procedurally or from a standard business process approach. And then your internal resourcing on that client accounting services side of the house gets their work done based on the work you've committed to your customer, and it provides that visibility. So whether that outsourcing strategy is with us, or it's internally with your own resources taking on a back office accounting role, or it's with other third-party vendors that might need to be enabled through your workflow process, there's a real meaningful opportunity to look at productivity, collaboration, and ultimately that ability to grow your firm through new services. So when we think about what's next, right? We start to think about your opportunity to take counsel that you've heard through Jason, or years of understanding in the market that you've gained access to through Ray or perhaps myself, and start to look at the themes that we're talking about that you should focus on, layering the technology onto solving to those themes to really build for yourself an engine that helps you grow now and into the future with your customers or with future customers that you might not yet be able to service. So ultimately, save the date. Why am I saying that? We have another set of wonderful individuals joining us, Wolters Kluwer, similar to Jason, that can provide additional insight into how their businesses are thriving in today's ecosystem, and ultimately what they're doing in the advisory space beyond thematical understanding, selection of technology that complements it or the specific services, but now starting to think about, well, what are some others in our market doing? So this third session, I think, will be another wonderful one, as I think today and session one has been. So save the date here for us. And we'd love to have you joining both myself, Lisa Erickson, and some wonderful, wonderful colleagues that we've met over the years as we've serviced the accounting space. So Alyssa, let's flip it over to a final polling question, and then let's get everyone out of here today.
Great, thank you, Mark. I've opened the final polling question. If you could please just take a couple seconds to answer that. And while this polling question is going, let me turn it back over to our speakers for closing remarks. Unfortunately, we do not have enough time to answer your questions, but we will be following up with you for those of you that did ask questions. So Mark, Ray, and Jason, thank you all. Why don't I turn it over to you for any final thoughts?
So I'll jump in very quick because I talked quite extensively. Jason, I want to thank you for participating with us today and sharing your knowledge. Ray, I really appreciate always presenting with you, but let's provide Jason an opportunity to really close us out today.
Thank you, Mark. I would say that the biggest thing I can tell everybody here, please develop an advisory practice and also integrate technology and items such as access, workflow into your technology needs, because you're going to want it, because it's going to help you grow your firm and grow your profitability.
Right, and Ray, any closing thoughts on your end?
Just thanks everyone for joining us, and hopefully you got some good information from this webinar today.
Absolutely. If anyone wants to follow up post-session just to talk about the opportunities and not to be sold specifically, I'm here for that. We do have a plethora of opportunity related to just what we've learned over the years, but we have products that really complement what you're trying to do. And I'd love to share what some of those successes are. So never hesitate to reach out, if even to me directly. Jason, thank you. Ray, thank you. And Alyssa, we appreciate you emceeing us through today. So appreciate everyone's attendance. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.